I've lost maybe leaders, I've lost teams, and it hasn't really affected me because I understand how I did it. I can teach it and I can do it over and over and over again. So on today's session, the topic is going to be the 5 steps to building. I believe no matter what level you're at, whether you're a beginner, whether you are making, some part-time income, whether you're making a full-time income, or whether you're making a 6 or 7 figure income, I think this information is definitely going to be useful. Just understanding that at all given times within the industry of building communities, you're either building, right, from scratch, you are teaching somebody else or other people how to build, or you're again rebuilding from scratch if you're trying to relaunch your business. The only time that you're not building, teaching someone else how to build, or rebuilding from scratch is if you've retired from the industry, which at some point you can do if you've built a business that can essentially run without you. But for the most part, I'm guessing everyone plugging in is not retired and you are actively building communities. And so this is information for anyone at every level. I think it's important to consistently learn, relearn, and adjust how to build from scratch, because what works this season might not work tomorrow. What's working yesterday or what was working yesterday might not work in the next season. And so it's important to actively stay in the trenches, actively understand what really works when it comes to building communities from scratch. And I think if you understand this one skill or one system, you save yourself from essentially relying on a superstar within your group, because you yourself have the skill, the knowledge, the experience, and the confidence to build, teach other people how to build, and to rebuild again from scratch. This skill and this understanding has pretty much saved me throughout my whole career, because I haven't had to rely on anyone. I've lost maybe leaders, I've lost teams, and it hasn't really affected me because I understand how I did it. I can teach it and I can do it over and over and over again. And that is the difference between, skill-based leadership and maybe timing-based leadership or luck-based leadership. Because essentially you can get lucky within this industry, but luck only, works for a season. So I'll definitely say rely on skill and not luck or timing. So when it comes to building from scratch, and again, this is in 2026, maybe what worked 5 years ago isn't particularly what is essentially working today. And I think the important thing to understand about 2026 is naturally people are quite skeptical. And the reason people are quite skeptical is because there's so much on social media. It is very difficult to understand from a consumer standpoint what is real and what is fake, right? There's so many lies online. There's so much overselling online. There's so much empty promises online. And there's just a lot of viral content without real value. Okay, so naturally people are skeptical. The first thing that you want to have in your locker for really being able to build from scratch, teach other people how to build, and to rebuild if and when you need to, whether you've lost business, lost a team, or whether you just want to rebuild again from scratch to expand your business. Might be a new market, new location, or you just want to grow and hit the next position. So rule number 1 is becoming a product of the product. Okay, whatever you are selling, whatever service it is, whatever product it is, whether it's physical or digital, you need to become a product of the product. And the first thing you need to do, which is actually number 1, is education. Is educating yourself on the product that you are selling. You want to become a master of that product or service. You want to understand the service inside out. You want to understand the good points, the bad points. You want to understand how you can duplicate the service, how to best use the service, what are the challenges that come with the service. You really want to pretty much understand all angles of what you're selling. And the best way to educate yourself on a product is to use it, to become a product of the product. You become your own testimonial. You you experience your product or service yourself because you're using it every single day. You're learning, you're asking questions, you're researching. Essentially, you are becoming a professional within the field that you're selling. This is, in my opinion, the number one thing to focus on if you're building from scratch, right? And I believe this really goes overlooked. Most people are very quick to go and recruit. Most people are very quick to go and quote unquote market their product or service without actually educating themselves on the product first. So you want to become a master of the product. You want to educate yourself thoroughly on the product. You want to understand it from all angles. You want to be able to answer any question around your product or service based on your knowledge and your experience. You want to be able to handle any objection that will come up. And the only way you can really handle objections is if you understand it, what you're selling at a very deep level, because you've become a product of the product. So that's number one, is education. Educate yourself on what you're selling. This is super, super important. Study it as if you're studying for an exam. Treat it like this is a subject that you've picked up at university. You really want to take out the time to understand what it is you're selling. Number two is results. Okay. Again, we're in a time within, the online industry where a lot of people are skeptical, right? A lot of people are selling for the sake of selling. So you want to make sure not only do you understand your product or service, but you've got some sort of result in what you're selling. Now, do you need the results of a superstar? No. Do you need, crazy results? No. You need what I call consistent, duplicatable, and realistic results. Okay, your results don't need to be huge. It doesn't need to be wow. I know, most of us think that you need crazy results because, big results go viral, big results create attention. I know that is what we see. But to build a business long term, you're not relying on hype. You're not relying on going viral. You're relying on consistency, right? You're relying on, something that is real. You're relying on value, okay? So your results don't need to be crazy. They need to be realistic. They need to be consistent, and they need to be duplicatable, meaning the way you're getting results with the product, the average person that you're selling to can also get similar results in a similar way, okay? For example, if the average person you're selling to works a 9 to 5, but the way you get results with whatever you're selling, you need to work 10 hours a day from home. That is not duplicatable or realistic for your average consumer, because the average person is at work all day, right? And so it's not only just getting results, it is, can you get results in a duplicatable way? Can you get results in a realistic way? And can those results be consistent for the average person? As an entrepreneur within this industry, it is not just how can I get results, but it's how can I get results in a way that can duplicate for the average person, okay? So number one, you've educated yourself. You understand the product. You know the ups and the downs. You know the advantages and the disadvantages. You can handle objections. You've become the product of the product. So you've got that experience. And now step two is focusing on results. Whatever you are selling, because remember, when someone's coming through the front door, or customers come in to view your service or product, they are essentially paying to use your product or service because they want to see a result, okay? So the closer you can be an example of what a result looks like, the bigger chance you're gonna have in terms of being able to grow a business, okay? Being able to build from scratch, being able to teach other people how to build from scratch, and being able to rebuild even after you've got a business that's already working, that's already running. So number one is education. Number two is results. The key with number two is your results needs to be duplicatable. They need to be realistic, and they need to be consistent, okay? That doesn't mean, especially in our industry where we're involved in trading, that doesn't mean you need to win every single day. That doesn't mean you need to win every single week. And that doesn't mean you need to win every single month, because realistically, even the best traders in the world, they have bad days, they have bad weeks, they have bad months, and some of them even have bad years. But over, a long period of time, they are profitable, they are consistent. So consistency doesn't mean winning every day. It means just understanding realistically what type of results is deemed as positive within what you're selling. And this is why education is important, because if we give an example of trading, if you're not educated in the industry, your perspective on what is a good result might be you need to win every single day, right? Because you don't really understand the industry you're in. And so if that is your perspective, then you've got an unrealistic expectation of what it means to be profitable in trading, right? But once you've really educated yourself properly about the industry, you would realize that best traders don't win every day. The best traders don't win every week, and the best traders don't win every month. The best traders are consistent enough over time, making sure they're not blowing up their account, making sure they're not over leveraging, making sure they're sticking to their routine, and making sure they're sticking to their strategy. And if you are consistent, you will have losing days, maybe losing weeks, and maybe losing months. But over the course of like a long-term career, you become profitable, because your system has an edge. So when you're educated within your industry, you understand these concepts. When you're not educated, you kind of think if you lose in a day, then you've done something wrong or it's not working. So this is why education is important. And of course, results don't come overnight. Results do take time, but it's just constantly working towards better results. And this is going to increase your ability to build an organization in 2026. Okay. So does that mean don't build until you have results? No, it doesn't mean that. The most important thing is education. The most important thing is that you've got a system that works, whether you know how to take signals, whether you know how to use the scanners, whether you are copy trading, whatever it is, you really understand the system and you know how to get results. Results don't come overnight. Sometimes it takes a while, but the most important thing, a component for you actually going out there to build, is going to be the education part, is you really understanding the system. Results take a bit longer than education. For some people, results might come right away. For others, it might take a while. Number 3 is your marketing and branding. This is going to be all based around social media. All right. Now, the more educated you are, the better your marketing is going to be in terms of value that you're giving, because you're speaking from real experience. You understand what it is you're selling. The better your results are, the more confidence you're going to portray on your social media. And of course, the more results you can actually showcase in a compliant way on your social media. The better step 1 and step 2 is, which is your education and results, the easier your marketing and branding is going to be. That doesn't mean wait till you're perfect, because there's no such thing as perfect. Start where you are when it comes to branding and marketing, but get better at your education, get better at your results. And over time, your marketing and branding is going to improve, but you want to start right away. Okay. So the difference between marketing and branding, from my understanding, is marketing is you basically essentially showcasing what your product or service has to offer. Okay. Branding is showcasing what you have to offer as a leader, right? And so there's 4 areas that I would basically suggest that you focus on when it comes to marketing and branding, because you don't want a page where all you're doing is selling. It can be very spammy. So there's 4 areas. Number 1 is value. This could be a value around your product or service, value around the mindset around your product or service, value around, the lifestyle that comes with your product or service. Just value that's going to basically make people think, give people some advice. It's going to maybe shift people's perspective on a particular topic. So number 1 is value. This is what you want to showcase on your social media. All right. Number 2 is results. Okay. Now you can share your results. You can share your community's results. Again, as long as this is done in a compliant way. But for me, the best result is always going to be the results of your community, because you now put yourself in a position of a figure of authority, the position of a coach, an expert, because you're indirectly sharing to your audience when you post your community's results that you can help other people get results, right? You can help them get results. Without saying it directly, you're indirectly showcasing that you can help the person watching get results, because you're showing and demonstrating that you've helped other people get results. And here's the 3 things that people want to know. They want to know, does your product work? They want to know, can it work for them? And they want to know, are they going to get support? Are they going to get help? Those are the 3 things that people are asking when they're consuming content like this. And so by you showcasing that you've helped other people get results, it shows that it works because you're sharing results. It shows that it can work for them because you're showing it's worked for so many other people. And it shows that you can help them because you've already shown that you've helped others do it. So results is number 2. Number 3 is entertainment. The best way to do this is showing your humor side. You know, this was a bit kind of difficult for me. My social media can come across as very businessy, very serious. And so I'm also working on the entertainment part. So showing your humor, I think the easiest way to do this is maybe remaking viral trends. Any trend that might be funny, that may be relatable to, you know, what it is you're doing. You can remake those trends. Not only does that help you with your views and followers, but that also shows another side to you. And this is more to do with your branding, all right? So entertainment is also important. People want humor, people want to laugh, people want to see funny stuff. So this is one pillar. And last is lifestyle. You know, a lifestyle doesn't mean Lamborghinis and penthouses. Lifestyle just means what your life is about. And I would recommend really sitting down and figuring out what are your pillars, right? When it comes to your content about your life. Lifestyle is basically content about your life. So for example, my pillars, number 1, in not any particular order, is mindset. Number 2 is fitness. Number 3 is travel. And number 4 is business. Okay. So I'm always mindful of posting content that showcases mindset, whether that is quotes, whether that's, you know, reading books, whether that is a curacao with, you know, different quotes. Fitness, I always post when I'm in a gym, when I'm going for a run. I try to showcase those things because this is quote unquote lifestyle content. When I'm traveling, I'll try and take as many pictures and videos of different locations around the city that I'm in, just to show, you know, what it is I'm doing. And number 4 was business, right? So I'm posting, of course, this is the easy one for me. I'm posting anything related to do with my actual business, all right? So figure out what your pillars are. Have maybe 3, 4, or 5 different pillars that, you know, this represents you and your life, and showcase that on social media. And number 4 is onboarding and training, okay? So once you get good at marketing and branding, you're going to start attracting customers. Now, when it comes to actually bringing clients into your business, the 4th key is going to be, how good is your onboarding process? Is your process systemized in a way where you can accommodate 100 people joining your business today, right? Or is your process very hands-on, where there's no real system, there's no real strategy behind it, it's just random? So make sure you have an onboarding process that can accommodate a large group of people coming in, because if you want to prepare to have a big business, you need to have a very slick onboarding system that can accommodate a large group of people coming in a short period of time, okay? So systems when it comes to onboarding is going to be super important. And the other one is training. Can you have a system that trains your customers how to get results in the most efficient, duplicatable, and the most consistent way? Again, you can't get to step 4 without doing step 1 or 2. If you don't understand what you're selling, if you don't have results in what you're selling, how can you develop a system within your business where you train your customers how to get consistent, duplicatable results? So again, you can't skip steps, right? So number 4 is onboarding and training. Can your onboarding system be very slick, in a way where it can accommodate a large group of people coming in. And the training, can your training be effective enough to help people get results in a most simple, duplicatable way possible? And last but not least, number 5 is going to be physical events. This could be small local events. This could be a regional event that's put on by maybe one of your leaders, or this can be, more importantly, an international event, a convention, right? What events do, it basically glues your organization together and basically creates a community. You know, you can try and build this online, but your business isn't going to be as strong if you're not doing physical events. We are, as humans, social creatures, right? We are creatures of our environment, of our habitat, right? And so having events creates that sense of belonging, which most people are looking for, right? Believe it or not. It creates that sense of community. And this is when people really buy into the vision of what it is the company is doing. They buy into the vision of where your team is trying to go. So events are really the glue to your business. Even in 2026, with everything online, it's even more important that you have an aspect of hosting events or maybe promoting events of the company to bring your community together. Okay. So those are the 5 steps. Number 1 is education. Number 2 is results. Number 3 is marketing and branding. Number 4 is onboarding and training. And number 5 is events. I believe if you can really, I wouldn't even say master, because you're never really going to master any of these things. But I believe if you commit to getting better in these 5 areas, then you are pretty much going to have the source, the key of what it takes to build, to teach other people how to build, and to rebuild your business as and when it's necessary. Okay. So that is the opening to today's session. I really hope you guys, really understood the importance of those concepts. And sometimes these are things that you already know, but when it's kind of broken down in a structured way, step by step, it kind of allows you to understand from a slightly different perspective, right? So hopefully I was able to give you guys a shift in perspective around those 5 topics. All right, cool. So let's get into the bulk of this call, which is the Q&A. I'm going to open up the chat box for you to ask me any question you want to ask, whether it's related to those 5 topics that I spoke about today, whether that's related to something else that you're having a challenge with, something you want a different perspective on, something you need advice on. Speak now or forever hold your peace. So I'm pretty much going to go through the chat box so you guys can start firing away questions and I'll start going through them one by one. And please nothing about Argentina. I'm still recovering from the loss on the weekend. It was very hard to watch. So please, no comments about Argentina. Let's get some questions coming in. See what we got. All right, we got Into Independent together. What content formats do you use? Talking head reels, curacao? That's a good question. So I'm still working on my social media. I wouldn't say I'm an expert with social media, but one of the strategies that I'm using is I have a particular purpose depending on the platform, right? So my TikTok is predominantly around the product, which is trading. Okay, this is the strategy that I'm currently using. So my content around TikTok is predominantly going to be focused on trading. My content on Instagram is more going to be focused on leadership development. Okay, TikTok is, for me, is where I'm attracting my customers. My Instagram is where I'm attracting leaders, So that is the difference, number one. One type of content is talking content, just like this. So my TikTok is talking content around the product. I'm giving value. This is the value part, right? So I'm giving value on the mindset of trading, why people lose, why people are not consistent. I'm showcasing why our community has solutions in terms of scanners, education, copy trading, our app that we have. So that is what my TikTok content is about. My Instagram content, I also do the talking videos, but it's more on the leadership. Like, this is part of the content, right? Leadership Q&A. Or maybe I'll post when I'm doing a training or speaking at an event. This is value content where I'm giving gems. All right, so that's number one. Number two is trending videos, right? That have some sort of relation to the message I'm trying to give out. Or it might be just pure entertainment. It might be lifestyle. But again, my TikTok content will be trending videos around the product that I'm selling, okay? Because again, that's the topic for my TikTok. And then Instagram is more like branding. So it's maybe trending videos on leadership or training videos on my 4 pillars, fitness, travel, leadership and mindset or business. That is like one pillar. So you got the talking videos, you've got your trending videos, and if you got your quotes where, if you see on my Instagram, I've got where I post a picture with like a quote on it. So these are just a different way to add value in terms of, instead of me like talking, another way is just putting a picture with like a quote. All right. So this is another form of content. And then there's your lifestyle content, which is going to be your photo dumps. I do a photo dump once a week, which basically covers all 4 of my pillars. So it covers business, it covers travel, it covers mindset, it covers fitness, right? And it kind of just shows, what I'm about. It just gives people more of an insight into my world. So that's another form of content. And then, yeah, I'm still kind of working on it, but these are the kind of different types of content that I'm quote unquote playing around with. So yeah, I mean, so far it's working quite well. My following is growing, my engagement is growing, and I'm getting people interested in the product, and I'm getting people interested in wanting to work with me as well. So obviously for me, it's a bit easier. Like I have a team and whatnot, but when I was starting out, this was still the concept. I just didn't have like a professional setup like this. I didn't have a videographer. Everything was done through my smartphone. And my content, I just got my team to help me kind of film it. You do have to be hands-on in the beginning, but eventually, you can start building a team around your social media, which is what I really recommend, okay? What are your thoughts on AI marketing automation? Me personally, if you're talking about AI automation from a stance of creating an avatar for talking content, I've seen that. But for me, it's kind of easy to tell that it's not real. I've seen quite a few talking videos, like literally talking videos like this, but it's made with AI, and you can tell when it's not real, right? I don't think AI is at that point where like you literally can't tell the difference. I personally can tell the difference when it's real or not. So I think AI is going to be good for using tools to help you build your business. Like, for example, you can use AI to help you with scripts. You can use AI to help you with topics to talk about that are going to be engaging, topics that might go viral. You can use AI to help you with your hooks, because in your talking videos, your hooks are going to be very important. But using AI for your content, I think is going to get rid of the human element, which people are always going to value. Right? In a business that we're in a people's business, we're selling products, we're selling opportunities. AI needs to be used in the right way. AI can't completely replace you with your social media. That's kind of my opinion on that. But you can use AI to make your job easier in building your business. AI can even create trainings for you to do for your team. AI can help you create onboarding processes for your organization. I think that's how AI should be used. But with social media, use AI as much as possible to help you with ideas, scripts, hooks, stuff like that. But essentially, you are the person that needs to show up for your social media, okay? All right, as a leader, how do you identify the difference between someone who's simply discouraged and someone who's beginning to disconnect from the vision? Wow, that's a very good question. And how do you lead each of those people differently? I think the first thing is understanding that people will quit. Everyone's trying to fight the idea or fight the reality that people will leave. So I think the first thing is understanding that that is a completely normal process, especially if you've been doing this for long. You should expect that people are going to quit. And I don't just mean customers, I mean, actually people that are building a business. And I don't just mean people that built the business that weren't making money. People that make a lot of money will also quit, right? People quit for many different reasons. It doesn't make them wrong and it doesn't make you right. Everyone has their own reason, right? And this is why I believe you shouldn't be attached to people within your business in a needy way. Meaning, if you ever felt like if somebody left your business or if one of your leaders left, then you're doomed. If you've ever felt like that before, you haven't worked enough on your skill. You haven't built enough confidence, or you haven't made a commitment to doing the work regardless of what happens in your business. And that's a very, very dangerous place to be. So number one is understanding that people will quit for whatever reason. You can't actually stop that, right? You can't. And if you try to, which I've done in the past many, many times, and I've seen many people try and do that, you eventually just end up maybe ruining a relationship, right? I've had many leaders that have quit and come back, right? When people, tend to leave, sometimes people just need their own experience. It's like when you're experiencing something and someone's making a mistake and they're making a mistake and you're trying to tell them over and over again, but they're not listening. Sometimes people just need to learn their own way, right? Which is okay. People will quit, but also people will come back. I've had many people leave my organization and come back because instead of me focusing on how to quote unquote keep people, I focused on how can I present or create the best environment. How can I be the best leader where if somebody does leave, because remember, most people only have one experience with your group. So they don't really know what's out there. Whatever you're providing, whatever your community is, whatever the value you're bringing, people might just think that's normal industry wide. And so maybe when people leave to another environment, they realize actually what they had with you was special. And that is what I focus on. I don't focus on trying to keep people. I focus on trying to, bring the best environment. So if somebody does leave, I want people to think, damn, like I missed that environment. I missed the trainings. I missed the value. I missed the events. I miss being around that community. I want to go back, right? So essentially that is what I'm focused on is, providing the best value. But trying to answer your question, number one, understand that people will leave. Number two, understand it's like an elevator. Everyone has different goals and different visions. Some people's goal is to just make an extra $2,000 a month. Some people's goals is to make $10,000 a month. Some people's goals is to, do this at a professional level as a career. Everyone's level is going to be completely different. This is why you need to understand your people on a deep level and understand what they actually want, not just what they say they want, because people just say things because it sounds good, but understanding what they actually want. Okay. To really try and answer your question, how do you identify the difference between someone who's simply discouraged and someone who's beginning to disconnect from the vision? I think those two are the same thing, right? They're almost the same thing. Someone can either be discouraged. Actually, they may be different. Somebody can either be discouraged because they don't believe that they're good enough. I believe that's one of the reasons someone could be discouraged. Someone can be discouraged because they have an unrealistic expectation of how quickly the results should come. Meaning somebody might put in the work for a month, they're doing everything you said, and they expect results right away. So that's a second reason why somebody could be discouraged is they have an unrealistic expectation of how fast the results should come. Someone who's lost faith in the vision or they're disconnected from the vision, that's most likely a bigger problem than what you could help with. Because if somebody is disconnected from the vision, that's mainly a company problem. This is a company's vision. And I think the best thing you could do with somebody that is disconnected from the company's vision is to bring them to an international convention. Because a company convention is really where people can see the company's vision. That's the bigger vision, is the company's vision. A company convention or company retreat is where people can see the company vision. Bringing them around successful leaders who are really bought into the company's vision, allowing them access and conversations with those type of individuals is going to kind of get them reconnected to the vision. So yeah, and the first two, in terms of treating them different, somebody not believing in their own ability. And the second one was someone having unrealistic expectations, right? I think that with the first one, that probably takes the longest. Most people don't believe in themselves. Most people have confidence issues. So I think with the first one, it's just keeping them within the environment long enough where they can actually learn how to build their belief. And that's why I think it's important in your culture to have an element around training people how to increase their belief, how to increase their desire, how to increase their confidence, right? I think that's very, very important to have as a foundation. My two foundations are belief and leadership. So it's teaching people how to believe in themselves and teaching people how to develop their leadership skills, okay? So I think as long as you had that as a culture within your team, is keeping people within that environment long enough. Number two is just telling people the truth. You know, this is why you always under promise and over deliver. Don't make things look easier than it is. Don't make things seem like you can get results quicker than you actually can. Don't sugarcoat any of the challenges that people are going to face, because once they face them, or once things are harder than it is, or once things take longer than people expect, they're going to have now an unrealistic expectation and they're going to think something's wrong. Okay. So I hope that kind of answers your question. I know it was like a long answer, but I was really trying to, think about it properly. What did your average schedule of your day look like for you to get here? I don't think you want to know. I honestly don't think you want to know. Before social media, I'm going to give you guys a story of how we used to prospect 12 years ago. And maybe that will give you an insight, or maybe that would make you feel like, okay, we have it good. We have it easy. But 12 years ago, there wasn't social media. I don't think there was Instagram 12 years ago. Or we definitely we couldn't DM for sure. I think there was Facebook. But again, I'm not sure if you can even DM on Facebook. But long story short, the way that I used to prospect 12 years ago, for you Gen Zs, right? Every single day, I had a goal to speak to 10 people, okay? And this is not 10 people on social media. This is 10 people on the street. Like, when we talk about being in the trenches, right? We're talking October 19th, when the weather is cold in London, it's raining or even snowing. Every day I'll go out with my clipboard. I had a clipboard and a paper, right? And I used to do a survey with random people on the street. They used to think I was weird. They used to think I was strange. It was super uncomfortable, but this was the only known method at the time. So I'd stop random people on the street or in the supermarket, which was probably the easiest place to find a lot of people. And I'll look for people who were dressed sharp. And I'll stop people and I'll say, excuse me, you're looking kind of sharp today. Do you mind if I ask what you do for a living or what you do for work? And then people normally, answer the question, and I'll just be engaged. Wow, that's quite interesting. How long you been doing that for? And then most people will be thinking, why is this random person stop me to ask me questions? But I mean, it kind of worked in a way, although it was very uncomfortable. And then I'll proceed to say, you seem like quite a sharp person. Are you someone that keeps your business options open? That was like my prospecting line, right? People will be like, well, yeah, sure, depends on what it is. And then I'll proceed to say, if I can remember, look, I haven't got much time, but I'm in town today and I'm just trying to connect with some sharp looking people. I have a new business that I'm launching within this part of town. Look, if you're open to taking a look at it, it might be for you, it might not be, but maybe let's exchange details and I can send you some information. And literally, I would do that to at least 10 people a day. Like, I'll go to the supermarket and I'll be like watching people like some creep, and like I'll see a prospect, this person looks sharp, and I'll like go to them like, excuse me, you got a second to speak? Like, this is literally how we used to prospect. I like write their name, write like the date that I met them, what they do for a living, and I'll write down their contact number. And then when I got home later on that night, the people that I met the day before, I would call them. So I'll be doing like 10 calls a day, and some people will give me the wrong number. I'll be calling so random number like, hey, I met you yesterday in a shopping mall. They were like, no, you didn't. Like, who's this? In the first few years, that was my schedule. For an hour or two a day, I'll go and collect numbers, and then I'll go home. I'll call the numbers from the numbers that I collected. No, it wasn't 10 people a day. It was 10 numbers. So that means I was speaking to maybe 30 or 40 people a day, because a lot of people will say no. So the goal was 10 phone numbers a day. Then I'll call those numbers. And then, the other part of my day is just building the business with the customers that are already in and the affiliates that are already in the business. So that was essentially, for the first 3 years, that was kind of my schedule. And then we moved on to like social media. And then the game was DMing people, at least 10 people a day, right? And sometimes it was 30, 40, 50 a day, depending on how many people Instagram will let you DM. And again, that was easier than meeting people on the street, but it was also very taxing, to just be DMing, 10, 20, 30 people every single day, the same message. And it just got very repetitive. But when my results really started to skyrocket was when I understood attraction marketing on social media. So it went from talking to random people on the street to DMing people on Instagram to now posting 3 pieces of content a day on my social media so I can attract customers, right? So the first part will be, consistently posting every single day, right? When I was on a come up, meaning going from like 0 to 10 grand a month is what I would call the come up. I was doing 3 presentations a day on Zoom. So 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 7 p.m., I would do a 30-minute presentation where myself, everyone that I've prospected on social media, my team's prospects, they would put people onto the call. So 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 7 p.m., the team knew that I was doing a call, and I'll do a 30-minute presentation for maybe 15, 20 people at a time on Zoom, right? Then at 9 p.m. every night, I would do a team training for the new customers who onboarded for that day. And then at 10 p.m., I'll do a leadership training with my affiliates. Like I had a team of maybe 5 or 6 people that were like accountability group. And we would debrief for the day on how many times we posted, how many people we signed up, how many presentations we did, how many freeway calls we did. And outside of that schedule of 1 p.m., 4 p.m., 7 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., I'll be doing 3-way calls in between, right? Because let's say 1 o'clock, I do a presentation. After the presentation, my new leaders want to put me on 3-way calls. So I'll be doing 3-way calls in between. Then 4 p.m. comes, I'll do another presentation. Then a bunch of 3-way calls in between. 7 p.m., another presentation, a bunch of 3-way calls in between. 9 p.m., training. 10 p.m. debrief with the leaders, and then we go again. That was literally like my schedule from 0 to 10 grand a month. Of course, that is not my schedule today, because essentially the goal is to build a business that can run without you. So once I got to like 10 grand a month, I then focused a lot more on leveraging systems. I focused on delegating. I focused on building leaders, because if I was doing that, like till today, I wouldn't have a business. I would have essentially created myself a job. So in the beginning, I had the time and energy to just put everything into the business. But then when it got off the ground and things were starting to move, I had to learn a different way of building, which is more delegating, systems, training, leveraging, right? Building in a way where the business can run without me. And that was essentially it. But in terms of the bulk of it, from 0 to 10 grand a month, that was essentially my schedule. When your team goes through a season of uncertainty or change, how do you personally keep people focused? Okay, look, here's my general answer, because a lot of the time, the questions that I get are always, how do I get other people to change their behavior? Or how do I stop other people from doing this, that, or the other? Or how do I get this person motivated? How do I get this person inspired? The questions that I believe you should be asking are questions about you, because you can't control other people. You can't control your upline. You can't control what a company does. You can't control your downline. You can't control your sideline. You can't control anyone apart from you. Okay. So I rarely focus on how to control other people's behaviors. I rarely focus on how to control other people's decisions. I focus on how I could become the best leader that I could be. How can I become the best example? How can I increase my influence? Okay? Because the more you increase your influence, the more of the right people will buy into you and buy into your leadership. Okay? So next time you come up with a question or you're thinking, how do I get this person to behave like this? Try and rephrase the question. And I don't just mean questions on this training, but the question you ask yourself in your head. Because I know a lot of you are asking a question of, how do I get this person to do this? This person didn't show up to an event. You know, not enough people came on a training. How do I? And these are good questions, but the answer should go back to how you can improve yourself. How can you increase your influence? How can you lead more by example? Or how can you be the example for people to see what's possible, for people to get inspired, for people to want what you have, right? For people to want to get closer to you, for people to want to listen to you. These are the sort of questions that you really want to be asking yourself. So I never really think, how do I keep people focused? And this is another concept. You can have the mindset of somebody that is chasing, or you can have the mindset of somebody that is attracting. When you focus so much on how you can control everything around you, that's the mindset of somebody that's chasing. And for me, it takes so much energy because there's very little you can do to control what is outside of you. Okay, so when you're always chasing, how can I keep people? How can I make this person motivated? How can I do this? How can I do that? And you're basically chasing. It takes so much energy and it's very draining. And also, as soon as you stop the activity, your business is almost running away from you. Whatever you chase is usually running away. When you focus on attracting, which is you focus on your skills, your leadership, your branding, your marketing, your influence, you know, you being an example, you inspiring people by your message, your voice, your example, by your journey, your experience, your teachings, your trainings, all of these things, you're focused on becoming so good at what you do that you end up attracting people. It's like the difference between DMing people on social media or you're posting quality content to get people to DM you. It's the same mindset when it comes to building in a business. You could be chasing or you could be attracting. I've always been an advocate, especially in the more recent years, of being somebody who attracts, right? And when you have that mindset, that is for me the mindset that allows you to build a business that runs without you. You can't build a business that runs without you if you're chasing everything, if you're trying to control everything. Building a business that runs without you is you building influence, you building respect, you building loyalty, you building trust within your community. People are around because they want to be around. They're not around because you've maybe forced them to be around, or you've I don't know, used manipulation tactics. They're around because they want to be around. They're around because they respect your leadership. They respect who you are. They respect what you do, what you've done. And when you've built an environment like that, it's a lot more peaceful. You're not worried about people leaving. You're not worried about this person's going to quit. This person's not motivated. You're not worried about those things because you've attracted what you have. Okay. So that's probably a lesson in there. Focus more on attracting rather than chasing or controlling. Okay. Last question. If I feel like a leader is not leading by example and is affecting the whole team's momentum, what do I do? I have very good work ethic and I want to learn everything to better myself, but I feel like I need the right advice and structure a schedule to maintain myself. Very good question. Now look, this again leads to what I said earlier. You can't control your upline. You can't control what the company does. You can't control your downlines and you can't control your sideline. In my first 6, I won't even say 6, that's maybe a stretch. In my first 3 years in the industry, I had coaches that I can learn from at events coaches I can learn from on YouTube. Maybe once in a while I can have a conversation with a coach, but I never had a mentor that I can speak to every day, right? I had uplines that would just happen to be my upline structure, but I never had anyone where I'm like, okay, I can really learn from this person. I trust and respect this person. I never had that. So that was a big challenge, but the blessing that came from that is I had to learn very quickly my first 3 years that nobody was coming to save me. So whatever I believed that was missing from my upline or my coach, I had to become it. I had to become independent, right? And, you know, there used to be a training that I would listen to that says you are an independent business owner, an IBO. You're not a DBO. A DBO is a dependent business owner. You are an independent business owner, meaning you are in control of your business and you are in control of your results. The moment you start thinking my upline or this person is destroying, you know, what it is I have or is hindering my success, you're not thinking like an independent business owner. You're thinking like a dependent business owner. I'm not saying you the person that asked the question, but you can think like a victim, right? Or you can think like a leader. A leader understands that they have influence over their organization. A leader understands that their business starts from them downwards. It doesn't start from the upline. Now, having a good upline, having a good coach, having a good mentor, it speeds up your success, right? It makes things a lot easier, but it is not necessarily a requirement to become successful. I never had that for a very long time, right? But I still figured it out in the end because I had the mindset that if it's going to be, it's up to me. And I'm very glad that I had to experience that for 3 years because it built a very self-sufficient individual, and it built the type of confidence that allowed me to understand that with or without anyone, I can build this from scratch. Whereas a lot of people that had the best upline in the world, which is great, but sometimes they got very complacent and they felt like they can't do this without the upline. Okay. So if you're in that position, it's just don't have a victim mindset. Whatever you believe your upline is missing or doing wrong, remember that for how you show up for your organization. That's what I did. Whenever I felt, oh, it would have been nice if my upline dealt with a situation this way, no problem. I never complained. I just said, okay, when I deal with my team, I'm going to deal with things a certain way. Or my upline spoke to me this way or didn't do this, or they lied or they were manipulative. Okay, I noticed that I didn't necessarily like those things. Those things are not helping me. It's hindering my progress. So when I show up for my team, I'm going to bear this in mind and make sure I'm not lying. Make sure I'm not manipulating. Make sure I'm not doing the things that I've experienced that made me feel like was hindering my success. And so I took all the negative and I said, okay, when I build with my team, I'm going to leave out all the negative and I'm only going to take the positives from my upline. And there always is a positive when you look for it because your upline is a rank for a reason. Okay. So I hope that answers your question because that was my experience for 3 years. I never really had that close guidance, but I figured it out. You know, I understood I was an independent business owner. Okay. So that is the last question. I know there's like 12 others. So I do apologize for not going through all the questions, but we will be back again next week. For those that I didn't get to answer your question, just make sure you jot down your questions in your notes. And next week, when I open up the questions, just make sure you're the first to jot your questions down because, of course, we don't always have time to go through all the questions. So I hope the first part of the training helped. I hope the Q&A helped. And again, for those on the call who, you know, you want to share this with your teams, it will be going on YouTube. So I'll see you guys next week. I believe the next episode will also be on Tuesday. And I think after next week, it should go back to Sundays. So take care and God bless.